All right, so this question is just like number 5 on your end of unit test. And it says, Miss Rivera has a piece of ribbon that is 3.5 feet long. She wants to cut it into pieces that are each 1/4 of a foot in length. How many, also called a 1/4 foot, how many 1/4 foot pieces of ribbon can Miss Rivera make? So what does it sound like? There are 4 operations you can choose from. And it doesn't sound like we're putting stuff together and making a total, so it's not addition. And we're not repeatedly adding the same value, so it's not multiplication. That leaves division and subtraction. In this question, you're not just taking away one little part of 1/4, but instead you're equally splitting all of this up so that each of them is 1/4 of a foot in length. So we're actually dividing this value by this value. And that's really important because when you're using division, you can't just put the numbers in any order you want. You have to make sure that you put them where the dividend, or the value getting split up, goes first. And how you're splitting it, the divisor, goes second. Our first value is 3.5 feet. And that value is how much ribbon that Miss Rivera has. And because that's the amount of ribbon that she has, it's the amount that's getting split up. And because it's getting split up equally, that makes this value the dividend. And I want to make sure I say it again in this video. It's not the dividend because it's the bigger number. It's not the dividend because it's the first number in the problem. It's the dividend because it's exactly what we have in the problem that's getting split up equally. And how are we splitting it? Well, we're taking that 3.5 feet of ribbon and we're splitting it so that each one is 1/4 of a foot in length. Since we're splitting it into 1/4 pieces, that makes this value, since it's telling us how it's getting split, that is our divisor. And when we were writing division, the dividend always goes first. So now we're going to write 3.5 divided by our divisor, which is 1/4. But we run into another issue here. Whenever we're dividing and any of the numbers we're using is a fraction, both numbers must be fractions only. Not half fractions, must be a fraction. So again, important note. When dividing with fractions, both values must become fractions. And I'm going to drag that down to the side so that we have some more space to work with. All right, important note. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to move it over here so we could do some more of our math work. All right, well, that's not good. All right, try that again. Third time should be the charm. There we go. All right, got it. Move this over here. Now, we have 3.5 feet divided by 1/4. This is fine. This isn't a problem at all because it's a fraction. So we're going to leave that alone. But this value here, we're going to have to turn 3.5 into an improper fraction. To do that, we're going to multiply the denominator here times the whole number, and that will give us 6. And then we're going to add the numerator to that, and that's going to give us 7. And our denominator will stay the same. So we're going to make it 7/2. Then we'll bring down our division symbol and bring down our 1/4. And since now this is a fraction, now since this is a fraction and this is a fraction, now we can use KCF. I'm also going to move this stuff out of the way so we have more room for our work. I'll leave that there. Okay. And I will move this up. All right. Because now I want to make a KCF table. So I'm going to put lines down the division symbol. Right? We got lines right there. And then it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to organize your work. So that's good. All right. Then we'll put our lines in the middle. And then we'll write our letters. KCF, which stands for keep, change, and flip. So in this column, we're going to keep the value that's there. And since our value is 7 over 2, we're just going to rewrite 7 over 2 because we're keeping it the same. In this column here, we have our division, but that's in the C column, which means that we have to change it to its opposite, which is multiplication. And finally, we have this column where we have the letter F, which stands for flip. And so we're going to take that fraction and flip it so that instead of 1 over 4, it becomes 4 over 1. And now that we have our multiplication question, let's focus on that, zoom into it, and we can just look at what we have here. So we have 7 times 4, and 7 times 4 equals 28. And then we've got 2 times 1, which equals 2. Well, that's improper, and I can't leave it like that. And in case you're not sure what that equals, just do the work. We're going to have to divide the top by the bottom. So we'll put 28 inside our long division notation and 2 outside. 2 can go into 2 one time, so I'll write 1 right here. And that's going to be 2 times 1, which is 2. I subtract, I get 0. Then we bring down the 8. And then we're going to have to divide this value, 8, by 2. 2 can go into 8 4 whole times, so I'll put a 4 over here. That's 4. 4 times 2 is 8. Subtract, I get 0. And this is our answer, which is 14. Now, what does that mean? That means that she's going to, when I say she, I mean Miss Rivera. Miss Rivera is going to have 14 1/4 foot piece ribbons. So I'm going to write that in a complete sentence. Miss Rivera will have 14 1/4 foot pieces of ribbon. And just to make sure we're on the same page, I want to show you what that looks like. If she had 3.5 feet of ribbon, okay, all of this ribbon is 3.5 feet. And she cuts her ribbon so that she has each little piece that is 1/4 of a foot. She's going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Just want to make sure that we all see that. That's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 pieces of ribbon where each of them is 1/4 of a foot long. All right, well, there it is. I hope this helps.